Hey, what's up guys, it's Scarce here, and today we're going to be looking at my Fire Force collection. Uh, man, look at that messed up Kodansha spine right there. But yeah, anyways, I am really proud of my Fire Force wall right here. I mean, it doesn't have like the best geometry, but hey, I don't know if anyone else has a life-size manga collection. I guess except for that new 5-foot tall Attack on Titan volume, but I'll have to get that eventually, I guess. I feel like a meteorologist, like... Alright guys, the temperature over in Fire Force is going to be hot. Alright, so I need to get down from here, so that's gonna be difficult. Hey everybody, it's Buzz. Today I want to talk about Fire Force, because I finally caught up to it and read the newest English release, volume 23, and I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on this series a little bit. I started reading Fire Force back when it was brand new in English, when Kodansha first started publishing it physically, and so I've been kind of a long-time follower of this series, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Fire Force is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Atsushi Okubo. It has been serialized in Kodansha's weekly shonen magazine since September 2015 and collected into 30 tankobon volumes as of August 2021. Shinra Kusakabe is a third-generation pyrokinetic youth who gained the nickname Devil's Footprint for his ability to ignite his feet at will, and was ostracized as a child for the fire that killed his mother and younger brother, Sho, 12 years ago. He joined Special Fire Force Company 8, which features other pyrokinetics who dedicated themselves to ending the infernal attacks for good while investigating Companies 1 through 7 for potential corruption in their ranks. Shinra begins to learn that the fire that killed his mother was a cover for Sho to be taken in by the White Clad, a doomsday cult, behind the infernal attacks, with agents within the facets of the Tokyo Empire. Company 8 and their allies oppose the White Clad while learning of their goal to gather 8 individuals like Shinra and Sho to repeat the Great Cataclysm for an ancient being who manipulated humanity for that very purpose. Yeah. So back when this series was new, I was a really big fan of Soul Eater. Really loved it. It was my first ever manga, which I genuinely considered to be my favorite series. I wouldn't say it's my favorite now, but it's still something I really enjoy, and it's a series I really cherish. And to see a new series by Okubo-sensei, you know, I was really excited to see what he was going to do next. I really wanted to see more Soul Eater. And so, back in the day when it was newer, I bought the first 4 volumes of Fire Force. And I started reading them. I'm going to be very honest a minute. I didn't really like it at first. I kinda didn't like the beginning of this series. I was expecting some high-octane action, kinda like the ending of Soul Eater, and what I got was, you know, a storyline I didn't really care about, and some over-the-top fan service that wasn't even very interesting. It was just it was almost just silly. But, you know, I kept reading the series, and it got better. I like the series to an extent now. I would consider myself a fan of this series, and I like it more now, but in my opinion, the series had a pretty rough start. I know the series' anime lost a lot of fans early on because of the fan service and some of the pacing issues with the storyline. Well, Fire Force has some pretty interesting fan service. Alright, so I just opened it to a completely random page, and then you see something like this. Oops, Shinra accidentally stumbled into a girl who was only wearing her underwear and kissed her on the cheek. On accident, haha. And that sort of fan service happens all of the time. And that sort of thing, you know, that's pretty standard for anime. Anime has a lot of fan service. But some of the fan service in this series is kind of extreme. For instance, one of the characters has what's called a Lucky Leecher Lure, which means she is magically prone to ending up in ridiculous sexual situations. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of there for no reason. It's kind of just there for the fan service. Some of the fan service is very tasteless, and I totally understand why people dropped the anime and dropped the manga, because they didn't like that. After probably volume 6 or 7, there's an extreme drop-off in that sort of content. There's way less fan service around volume 7 or so. I feel like Okubo was kind of following the feedback against that sort of stuff, because this series really kind of drops that entirely later on. Like, there's whole volumes at a time which won't have any fan service, like, at all. And so for the people that, and so for the people that were into series like this, mostly just for the action scenes, and I think, some people should give it another chance if they didn't like that before. The storyline of this series is pretty slow. I kept reading this series hoping that I would get really invested and hoping I would like it. And the first volume, which I genuinely felt invested in the storyline, was volume 13. That's not the best sign, if it took me that long to get invested in the story. This series definitely takes its time in the beginning. This series has a lot of really interesting characters. The storyline becomes more and more intricate as the series goes on, and it introduces a lot of new mechanics to the power system which make it extremely interesting. But at first, it's very basic. There's not too much going on in the power system at first, but it's one of those things where it gets built on pretty well. The series also has a whole lot of characters in it, which are very similar to Soul Eater characters, which is not, a bad thing. Okubo wrote some really nice characters in Soul Eater, and so to bring the same character designs back, I think that was a perfectly acceptable thing to do. As far as the action scenes in this series go, it has some really nice action. A lot of the same classic art that Okubo is known for drawing. The paneling is amazing, the sense of momentum through strikes and the fighting is extremely well drawn. It's very easy to see what's going on in the fight scenes, and the fight choreography is definitely one of the best things that Okubo is good at. The fight choreography and camera work, so to speak, is definitely one of the strong suits of this series. This series definitely has some extremely hype moments throughout it. There's a strange contrast to this series. There'll be whole chapters of just exposition. There'll be scenes of the most awesome fight scenes you've ever seen. This series also has some wonderful art. My investment in this series has changed a whole lot. One volume I'll be incredibly invested, and then the next volume I'll kind of not really like where the story is going. And so it's been kind of off and on for me whether I've been genuinely enjoying it, or I've just been thinking it's okay and, worth reading. There hasn't really been a time when I've been reading this series where I think it's not worth it. I've always felt like the series is worth reading. Sometimes I'll be reading the series and I'll think it rivals Soul Eater pretty well. And then other volumes I'll be reading it, and I think that it's kind of disappointing in comparison. And overall, my thoughts have been changing a whole lot. A lot of people have been saying that the second half of this series is way better than the first half. And I'm gonna have to agree with that. Even though I've only read what is of the English release, up to volume 23, I definitely have to say, after volume 13, the series definitely finds its footing and gets better, by a lot. I actually made a chart to show you guys my thoughts on this series, score-wise, going from volume to volume. And when it first started, I was incredibly disappointed. I thought it was a 4 out of 10. But it's been getting better slowly throughout its entire run, and right now I would say it's a 7 out of 10. It's got some fun fights, it's got some fun characters, it's got some humor that lands. It's not the best series around, but it's been an enjoyable experience. I am really excited to see how this series ends up. I'll show you guys my opinion of Soul Eater. I thought it was a pretty decent series at first, at a 6 out of 10, kind of average. But as it went on and as I finished the series, it actually became one of my favorites. I was incredibly invested in that series, and right now I still think it's a 10 out of 10. And Soul Eater to this day is, one of my favorite mangas. And if we overlap the charts, we can see that the growth is pretty similar. Will Fire Force be a 10 out of 10 at the ending? No, I don't think it will. But will it get better that I'll actually up the rating and probably say it's an 8? That very well could happen. I am liking where the series is going right now. And I am getting more and more invested by the volume. If it's a 7 out of 10 right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it got better. Now, cutting the difference and doing an average, yeah, cutting the average, this series is a 5.5 out of 10. But, you guys know I always like to rank not objectively as much as subjectively and kind of rate based off of my emotions. And I would definitely say that this series, is a high 6, and will probably end up being a 7 out of 10 at the ending, and I am enjoying it. You know, I still plan on buying the series physically. I've been having a fun time with it, and you know, I really don't have anything bad to say about the series. There are times where I felt a little bit disappointed since Okubo Sensei has done better, but at the same time, it's a fun ride, and I am genuinely invested in where the series is going next. But yeah, that's about it. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any thoughts about this and you want to put them in the comments section below, I'll be sure to read everything. Remember to subscribe if you like this video so you can see more stuff like it. I don't know, I've just been thinking about this series a whole lot, and I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. I don't know if other people agree or not, but this is just what I've been thinking about a lot recently. And anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. See ya.